Hey, y'all, let's cover lesson 36, and this is interest. When money is invested, the financial institution will pay an additional amount to the investor. It's called interest. Alternatively, when money is borrowed, the borrower must pay an additional amount to the lender, and it's called interest. Okay, either way, somebody's paying on the money that is either being borrowed or invested. There are different ways of calculating interest. The most basic is called simple interest. And so the balance is the current amount in the account. The balance is the current amount in the account or the current amount owed. On a loan, and this includes interest. Okay. The principal is the initial amount that's either invested or borrowed. It's the initial or beginning amount. Use whichever words you want to use. The initial amount invested or borrowed. So if it's invested, it's the amount of money you put into the account to make money from the bank. If it's borrowed, it's a loan that you took out. The rate is the interest rate. And it is always a percentage. And it's per year. And then the time is the length of the loan or the investment. And it is in years. Okay. Simple interest, and I'm going to give you the formula for it. Simple interest is calculated with the formula I for interest is equal to P, which is the principal, times the rate times the time. All right, where I is the interest. And that's money. P is the principal. That's money. And then R is the interest rate. Here's the deal. It's a percent, but you need to change it. You need to write it as a decimal. Because remember, I told you can't multiply or divide anything with a percent. It has to be a decimal. And T is the time in years. Okay. So how much simple interest is earned if $1,200 invested at 4% per year for 5 years? All right. How much simple interest? So we're looking for the interest. And TRT is my formula I'm going to be using. How much is earned if $1,200 is invested? So $1,200 is the principal. At 4%, so we need to take our 4%, divide it by 100 to make it 0.04. Change it from a percent to a decimal. All right, and then our time is 5 years. We're going to multiply these three together, and interest is going to be dollars. So we've got 1,200 times 0.04 times 5 equals $240. So the interest is $240. How much simple interest is earned if $2,500 is invested at 5% per year for 8 years? So it's your turn. Pause the video. Go do this one yourself, following the same style I did, exactly the same. and then come back and check to see if you got the same answer. Okay, pause the video. All right, when you come back, how much simple interest is earned? So we're looking for I equals principal times rate times time. The initial amount invested is 2,500 times 5%. I'm going to make this parentheses because we're going to have decimal. 5% is 5% divided by 100, and we get 0.05. And then years is 8. Multiply these three together. And I got $1,000. So the interest is $1,000. Oh, don't want to do that one. All right. Let's talk about the balance. To find the balance, you're going to add the interest to the beginning balance, to the principal. A contractor borrows $5,000 at 4.5% per year. The interest accrued is simple interest. The duration of the loan is 6 months. How much will the contractor have to pay back at the end of the 6-month loan period? Ooh, this one's a little bit different. Okay. So we're going to use the formula I equals P times R times T. I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm going to line these up because we've got a little bit of some situations happening. We don't know what the interest accrued is. The principal, he borrowed 5,000, so that's the 5,000. All right, so I equals 5,000, 2, 3. The rate is 4.5% per year, so 4.5% divided by 100 is 0.045. Which can go here. All right, time. Time is happening every 6 months, right? So how much is that out of a year? Because time has to be represented in years. All right. So if time is 6 months, what is that? Well, how many months are there in the year? Because that would be 6 months out of 12 months would be a year, right? So I can choose that. If it was 3 months out of a year, it would be 3 over 12 years. Okay. You could also use 1/2. It works as well. Okay. So 6 divided by 12. I'm just going to leave it like that. All right, let's multiply these. 5,000 times 0.045 times 6 is 1,350. That's the top, over 12 divided by 12 is 112.50. So the interest is $112.50. That what the question is. No, it's how much will the contractor have to pay back at the end? Well, he has to pay the interest back plus the initial amount. So the balance is the principal plus the interest. So the principal was 5,000. The interest is 112.50. We have to add those together. So $5,112.50 is the balance. Okay, that's it. An accountant borrows, oh, this is going to be your turn to do this. I'll leave it like this so you can see them. Do this in the same way. An accountant borrows $8,000 at 5.5% per year. The interest accrued is simple interest. The duration of the loan is 3 months. This is the one I just did the example of. How much will the accountant have to pay back at the end of the 3-month loan period? So interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Pause the video, do this one yourself, and then come back to see how you did. Okay, so interest is going to be equal to our principal is 8,000 because that's the amount that was borrowed. 5%, 5.5%. So take 5.5% divided by 100, and you get 0.055, and then time. Well, for time, remember it's got to be based out of a year, but we only have it for 3 months. So if we need it to be a year, but they're only giving us 3 months, how much is that to give us a full year? It would take 12 months. 3 out of 12 would give us how much of the year is being utilized. That's an arrow. It's not an equal. It's to point to what we have to get it to. So this is 3 over 12. I'm going to multiply 8,000 times 0.055 times 3, and then I'm going to divide it by 12. So 8,000 times 0.055 times 3 equals, and then divide that by 12, and I get 110. So 110 is the interest. The balance was 8,000. I mean, the principal was 8,000. So the accountant had to pay back will pay back $8,110. Okay. Business owner takes out a 4-month loan at 5.4% per year simple interest. At the end of the 4-month loan period, the interest owed is $90. So they're telling us the interest, and they want to know what the principal is. If the interest is 90, we're looking for principal. Our rate is 5.4%. Divide that by 100, you get 0.054 for the decimal. And then how long? 4 months. Okay, so 4 out of 12 is what we're gonna have to do for that, because it's dealing with months. If it was a year, it's a non-issue, just put 1, okay, or however many years there are. So we're gonna have to multiply these two. 0.054 times 4 divided by 12 equals, and that's 0.018 times P, that's a 90. Divide both sides by 0.018. And the principal is what? $5,000. So the principal, I'm sorry, the amount borrowed, trying to answer it the way they gave it to us, was $5,000. Okay. All right, a pet shop owner borrows $8,000 for 6 months. Okay, at the end of 6-month loan period, the interest owed is $200. Oh, they're telling us what the interest is again. What was the simple interest rate? Now we're looking for the percent. Okay, so I is equal to P times R times T. The interest was 200. The principal was 8,000. And we're looking for the rate, and time was 6 months out of a year, so 6 out of 12. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and combine the 8,000 times 6 divided by 12, and that's 4,000. Now we have to divide both sides by 400. I'm sorry, 4,000. And rate is equal to 200. Divide by 4,000, and that is 0.05. That's in decimal form, because remember, with this formula, we use rate in decimal form, but we can't represent an interest rate in decimal form. It has to have an interest symbol. So let's do that, a percent symbol. By changing a decimal to a percent, we have to multiply it by 100. So 0.05 times 100 is what? 50, I'm sorry, 5%. 1, 2, move to decimal 2 places. So the rate is 5%. All right. If simple interest is applied, then the balance is given by the formula A equals to the principal times 1 plus the rate times time. And we're going to use this one in our next class. Where A is the balance, P is still the principal or the initial amount, R is the rate in decimal form, and T is the time in years. Of the loan or investment. So this is only for simple interest. And whenever we're in the next class, I will tell you to only look for the word simple. So if $4,000 is invested at 6.25% simple interest, what will be the balance after 2 years? We're going to use this formula here because this one will tell us what our balance is. All right. $4,000 is invested. That's our principal. The rate is 6.25%. And I need to divide that by 100, and I get 0.0625. And my time is 2 years. All right. To put this in your calculator, you're going to do this. You're going to go you don't need the A. You're going to go 4,000. And then 1 plus, I would use 0.0625 and then times 2. I think that makes more sense. You could put that directly in the calculator, but honestly, I want you to learn the order of operations for this. So order of operations, you need to do inside the parentheses first. Think of PEMDAS, so parentheses first. But inside the parentheses, we have addition and multiplication. Multiplication comes before addition. So I'm going to multiply the 0.0625 times 2, and I get 0.125. Now I'm going to add it to 1. Now I'm going to multiply it by 4,000. And I get 4,500. So the balance is $4,500. All right. Balance due on a 2-year loan is $3,360. If the simple interest rate is 6%, what was the principal borrowed? So now we're looking for P. The balance is $3,360. We're looking for the initial amount invested. The rate is 6%. 6% divided by 100 is 0.06. And the time in years is 2. All right, so I have to start with the 0.06 times 2, and I get 0.12. Add 1 to that. Okay. Now we have to divide. We were solving for P, so we need to divide by 1.12 to get rid of this, and divide this by 1.12. So the amount borrowed is $3,360 divided by 1.12. And that's $3,000 was borrowed. Or the principal was, yeah, the principal was $3,000. Don't forget your dollar signs. Muy importante. Right? And that is it for lesson 36. I will see y'all at lesson 37. Exciting.